let's unpack some different bits of that though, because there are some really immediate questions and there are some much longer term questions. The thing about how we build and how that's going to impact on how people move about. Over recent decades, we've allowed something quite unusual in European terms. The way that house building is dictated by the volume house building industry as a speculative investment. That is unusual. Most European countries don't have that. You have house building determined by social need, first of all, not determined by the speculative investment needs of big volume house builders. And the fact that the UK has moved in that direction, it's not just Scotland. Scotland has done this, but the rest of the UK has as well. It's also led to those big volume house builders adopting a bit of an American style model of building kind of big empty suburbs that aren't really connected in the sense of being part of a community when they're being planned and developed. And so it builds in transport dependency. So we need to be changing a lot of those questions about how we build. A lot of the stuff that's been built already, that's not going to go away anywhere soon. So we need to be making sure that people have access to the public transport systems that will allow them to live in those places that have been built without being dependent on cars. And we have an absurd, privatized, very low quality, very high cost public transport system in this country. Again, compare us to a lot of European countries where public transport being cheap, affordable, reliable, high quality, because it is regulated, because it is subsidized, and because it is publicly owned. That's the norm. And that's what gets you a world-class public transport system. So we could be doing that with our buses. I'll just come on to, we could be doing it with our trains as well, for goodness sake. I'll just come on to the short term, the immediate issues about how 2020 has been, this appalling COVID outbreak that we've been living through and the way that that's impacted on services. It is, understandable that a lot of people feel anxious about having to go back onto public transport at the moment. We need to recognize, though, that even when public transport is operated by the private sector, a great deal of it is still paid for by the public purse. And we should be getting something back from that. The public purse pays for a huge number of people's subsidized journeys, but it does that effectively by handing money over to private operators and not getting anything back in return. We're about to roll out free bus travel for young people as well. And that, again, will increase the proportion of journeys that are taking place in our bus networks that are effectively a public service. Why are we simply allowing that to be operated as though it's a market commodity run by the private sector for profit? I think that's a distortion of the market, and it would work far better if we brought those services back into the public sector where they belong, preferably run at a community level, so that those decisions about individual routes are made by and with the people who are affected by those decisions, not by somebody remote either in government or in the private sector.